Everyone, welcome back to another episode of Car Talk. And in this one, we're going to be talking about the best and worst mods for your sports cars or cars in general. And we've got the usual suspects. We've got Eric and we've got Lucas as well.
Good day, sir.
Hello.
This time we're doing a morning podcast.
Yes,
6
we have
a.m. local time.
Coffee
6
this
a.m.
morning.
Cheers to the coffee. You're into your water already, showing you had.
I limit myself to one a day. One a day. Can't sleep at night.
Fair.
We still have. It's only 9 a.m.
We have the whole day to exert ourselves.
Yes.
I know how my body works. Okay, Prabhu. Do you?
I thought this topic was very good in the sense that we have Lucas as well.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the mod guru and
Mod God.
mod guy.
Come on, God.
Yeah.
Probably the reason for a lot of empty wallets is sitting right there too.
Well, I think you have a
Guilty.
bit of a spectrum on mods right now. So Lucas is like maximum strength.
Yeah.
I'm kind of in the middle, and right now you might be living more towards the stock life. On that, your Porsche.
Purple, actually, so
Not as
other-
your resume, your history of cars, but I'm just saying at this current juncture.
Hey, he's calling me a stock.
no. So I think you're a little more. I think he means to say reserved.
Yeah.
The other day we were discussing mods for his GT3 RS and especially the M2 since it's coming and there's a lot of aftermarket support for that car. So I'm trying to sway Prabhu to purchase a set of springs or suspension coilovers, whatever the case may be, and some turn signal markers. Two simple, very starter mods. And Prabhu's
Met with resistance.
no, so I'm working, right? Because I'm working during the day, and he sends me a text. I didn't respond to your text yet because I saw the text and I got so overwhelmed. There was like bar graphs and pie charts and like there's like a
No, man.
Are you worried? Are you just worried about offending the PCA crowd? Is that it? You don't want to show up to those parking lots?
So I agree to all those mods. I want to do it. So what I sent to you was
I know, I
a
saw-
list of mods. There were no spreadsheets.
no,
and
but
there's
it was there was so much information there. Like, and my mind is still at work, so I'm not focused on it. And I'm like, oh my god, there's so much to read here. I just wanted the guy to get colored side markers, and he's sending me like a binder full of like.
So I mean, think of the mindset of someone that's diving into it, and you probably did this as well when
Yeah.
you got your M3. You had a plethora of mods that you want to get in for your car.
No, they were already there.
No, but you had to order them.
Yes.
You had to keep track of what you're ordering
Yeah.
and how much money you got to put into it. So that's all I was doing, and I wanted to make sure I wasn't recklessly spending money on the car.
So this is a great opportunity, I think, to cover fundamentals.
Yeah.
What are fundamentals? Modding 101, in my opinion, what I
Yeah.
think makes the biggest. So
Yeah.
we'll see the board.
Yeah.
We'll see how this goes. But I have some
And
good
and
advice.
I would say just a shout out to, like, I think it was I put up that poll, and this
Yeah.
was an idea of one of the fellows. I wish I had their name at my fingertips. Give them a shout out. But
Thank you for all the feedback and the comments and just participating
Engagement,
in this conversation as well. So that's really helpful. So do we want to jump into the board? I thought before we get into the criteria of the kind of mods, it might be worthwhile to touch on the type of modding that exists in the world today, right?
Yeah.
It's, what category do we fit into?
Right.
And off the 500 people that might be watching, it could be a broad spectrum of, Euro tuning to hot rodding or whatever, or off-roading. That's another thing as well.
Yeah.
So maybe we could touch on those just quickly and kind of identify ourselves as where we fit in.
yeah, let's do it.
yeah, and I mean, full disclosure, there's some of these categories that we're not subject matter experts in.
Yes. So I think, if you're thinking about modding, you kind of ask yourself, what is the purpose of this car? And then you kind of talked about this as well. You kind of defined your kind of modding as OEM plus. There's folks out there that focus heavily on performance. So track driving,
Right.
lap times. They do whatever they want to those cars to optimize performance and lap times,
Right.
aero, those type of things, right? Of all of these ones, which do you think we fit into?
I think Euro tuning. That's the one that grabs my attention, because as much as some of the things I've done to my car might enhance the performance, like a lighter forged wheel. Truthfully, I'm happy with the performance of the car. I'm not a track rat, and I do it mostly for aesthetic, and to achieve sort of that OEM plus.
So when we talk about like the best and worst mods for cars, we're kind of, at least we're coming at it from a Euro tuning perspective, or maybe it applies to all these.
Yeah,
other-
okay, whether it's a Japanese car or America, I think the same principles apply.
I think the JDM space is just bonkers in terms of what they do in modding and all that. It's
Well,
so,
I think there's JDM, but I think what you're talking, is it the Bozazuka? Well, I think there's that with the big spoilers
Yeah,
and the
yeah, yeah.
18 exhaust pipes that shoot up, and
Yeah.
that's probably not our
You have a missing square there, and it should be. This is actually an insult to most people, but you're missing KDM. That's a huge market.
KDM.
what's
yeah.
KDM?
Well,
Korean.
JDM, KDM.
Korean,
Oh,
because it's strictly Japanese, but there's KDM is a big one.
is that a big scene? I
Yeah,
haven't
it is.
really. Wow,
It
I
is.
haven't seen anything. I mean, how
Like,
different is it?
For
from-
example, like Hyundai, the Genesis.
Yeah.
Like that's a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
tuning market.
That's true.
It's KDM.
So what was it? Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. If
Yeah.
you watch that, there was a little jab towards Hyundai.
Was there?
I don't know if you've
I've
seen
never
that
seen
scene.
that movie. No.
Oh, I'll
Fast
have
and
to
Furious ended for me after the first one.
Oh, come on.
I've never seen another one.
Okay, Tokyo Drift is really.
You haven't seen
worthwhile
Tokyo
watching.
Drift?
No.
Tokyo Drift is great. It's
Yeah.
actually it's his vibe because it's a Mustang. Drifting Mustangs. I'm surprised you didn't see that.
No, I.
Okay, we're watching it after
They,
this.
they got a little silly for me.
No.
You know.
Tokyo Drift is
It's
worth-
good.
Oh,
It's
is
good.
it?
It's
Okay.
worth
It has a Viper in it, for God's
Yeah.
sakes.
Okay, all right. It's on my to-do list today.
But in that scene, there's a significant jab towards Hyundai because at that time, Hyundai was just upcoming with their
Right.
Yeah.
kind of sports cars and all of that. And it was like, I think it was Han that was telling the main character, it was like, what do you think? I'm going to let you ride in a Hyundai?
Okay, yes,
And
you're
it's
right.
like, Mitsubishi Lancer was a thing.
Yeah.
That was their car at the time.
I mean, the Korean car scene, just even without modding, like Genesis making amazing vehicles
yes.
right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look great. The performance is there.
Yeah.
I think they're a category killer.
Well, Hyundai took a 360.
Yeah.
Early
I think-
early 2000s, they were
2002.
ship boxes.
Yes.
Very cheap, poorly
The pony. Remember that?
the pony, but even the quality was really subpar. And now you see they just released their. I know Eric is not a fan, but their new Genesis Coupe SUV.
I love
I'm
that.
a huge fan.
Yeah.
Of the SUV Coupe.
I love it.
You love Coupe SUVs?
I went and looked at it.
What is going on here?
I like the Genesis GV70, I think it is.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
went and looked at one.
Yeah.
No, it just wasn't going to meet my space requirements.
But remember
of
the
family,
SUV conversation that we
Yeah, I
had,
know.
and coupes were not your thing.
Yeah.
I generally don't like them over their traditional counterpart. Like
The
you said,
Hyundai
the X6.
has swayed him.
The Genesis. It's
no,
a new
the
brand.
Genesis.
Yeah, but it's a Hyundai. It's just a Genesis brand.
No,
It's
I
a
know.
luxury
But
brand.
what I'm saying is, I would not take an X6 over an X5.
Okay.
I would not take. I don't know, pick the GLC coupe
Yeah.
versus the GLC stand. That's what I think my conclusion.
So
on
you
that
take
was.
a Genesis GV70.
It was
over
beautiful.
a Cayenne.
But it's funny. The reason I didn't go ahead with that was it didn't have the space, right? There was no option for third row, which is
Yeah.
in the large one you can get that. But yeah, it's a beautiful car.
That's awesome.
All right, let's back to the mods.
So yeah, so I probably fit in the same category. I'm kind of a mix of, I guess, performance and Euro tuning.
Yeah.
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 And that's what you kind of consider
Yeah.
OEM plus in a way.
Yeah.
Definitely don't fit into the rat rods or off-roading. I mean, that's a huge scene as well, eh? Off-roading.
In certain parts,
Off-roading is like I love trucks, and I just saw a company's posting pictures of the new Raptor R with a full like Camberg
saw
control
that.
arms and
Yeah.
swapped out dampeners and shocks, and it looks so badass. Like these trucks with these massive suspensions.
You're right. I mean that is a specialty vehicle, but like even like the GMC Canyon, it is such an off-roader. Like it's such an off-roading look. It's raised suspension. It's wide stance, big wheels.
Yeah.
It even has a lot of them have the sort of called the bead locks
Yeah.
on them. They're coming that from the factory now.
Yeah. So have you seen the new leaked photos of the Chevrolet variant, the ZR2?
Yeah.
It looks
Yeah.
even more badass than the Canyon does because it's got
Wow.
massive. Like the wheels look almost too big for the car.
It looks like a Baja truck.
Yeah,
almost,
it
right?
does.
Yeah.
And it's
So-
like a small body truck with these big tires, beadlock wheels. These
Yeah.
like stick out past the fenders. Like
If I was living back in India or like on the countryside where there is a lot of terrain to cover and it's not smooth surfaces like in the city, I'd be looking at a Raptor R as well, like some kind of a Baja truck.
Yeah.
I know Toyotas, they convert, like in the Caribbean, they convert these Toyota, what are they, 4Runners or whatever?
Yeah.
Into like Baja trucks, right?
Well,
Not
yeah.
me. I'd be getting the tuk tuk.
What's a tuk-tuk?
Isn't that little Indian vehicle, the three-wheel vehicle,
Oh,
taxi?
the rickshaws?
Is it called tuk tuk? Isn't that what it is?
Auto rickshaw?
Okay.
Like,
All right.
I don't.
Maybe, yeah, I'm
Little
not sure.
scooter thingies?
Is that what?
Google that up.
I know what it is. The little the taxi kind of cars.
Yeah,
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 around the
that's what I'm
town.
saying.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
It's a we call it the rickshaw.
Okay, so it's a rickshaw, Eric. Jesus.
My cultural sensitivity.
Tuk tuk. That's a bird.
On behalf of the 1.4 billion
It-
people in India, I apologize.
It might. Wait, 1.2 or 1.
I said 1.4.
Oh, wow.
I guessed.
Oh, it grew.
What's the most populous country in the world? Right?
Oh, China.
Well,
No,
China now.
It's overtaken China. I thought.
What is
Wow.
China?
It's
Yeah.
like 1.3.
1.1, 1.2.
Oh,
But I think India now is the most populous.
you won, buddy.
Well, China has the one-child policy thing now
That's
that's true.
exactly what
to
it is.
prevent
That hurt them.
growth.
India?
Yeah.
No policy?
No policy.
Just go nuts, eh?
Go bang bang shebang.
Back to
How is it? When did the modding discussion start? If you're still tuned in, thank you for your patience.
All right.
Right.
So agree. We're in the Euro tuning /
Performance
modding. Not necessarily in the restoration and resto modding because that's
That's a cool. But like, look at the singer. We love that. The
Yeah.
singers.
But
The
we as individuals,
I know we're not into it, but we admire it
I do admire
more so than we electro and eco modding. I don't think
Yeah.
anyone cares for that.
I don't have the resources to go off and do a restoration project on a 911, for example.
Well, 911s, and you're familiar with Singer and like all the Porsche variants, but have you heard of Ring Brothers?
Yeah.
So Ring Brothers, they do phenomenal work. They're basically like hot rod
Old
stuff,
muscle.
old muscle car, but
Yeah.
they'll take like an old Camaro,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
and they'll do the whole body in like pure exposed carbon, Terry, and then after they'll do a 2022 Camaro interior with like all the gadgets, all the tech, huge brake kits, HRE. HRE actually has a line of wheels that are specific for Ring Brothers that are meant for kind of
These are expensive builds too, right?
like I think what's the comedian there?
Joe Rogan has those.
No,
Chris Rock.
no,
Oh, Kevin Hart.
Kevin Hart.
Okay.
He actually had one built. I'm not sure if it was by Ring Brothers, but somebody built him I think it was wasn't a Cutlass. It was what's the black turbocharged car?
The
there?
Grand National.
Grand National.
Yeah.
They
Wow,
built him.
how do you even know that stuff?
Yeah, so they built him a Grand
That's
National,
fair.
and
That
it
was
was.
the 80s that ruled the streets.
Yeah.
The Grand National was a 3.8 twin turbo 6. V6.
But imagine a 6 turbo, like that was popular back then. Everyone had V8s, IROCs, and then you pull up in a Grand National, and it was like king of the street.
It was the fastest 0 to 60 car for its day, I believe.
Yeah.
Wow.
You can fact check the comments, but yeah, it was a very cool car.
So his was debuted at SEMA,
Yeah.
and he was there, and
I saw that one. Yeah.
up close, the details of this car, the finishes, like HRE made custom wheels for it as well. It was an awesome
Yeah,
build.
he did a little talk for
Yeah.
the HRE folks, right?
That's- yeah.
Yeah, so those are like the gold standard of car modifications,
Yeah.
right? It's the complete build. But for most of the audience, it would be, I want to put exhaust on my car, or maybe want to lower it, right?
Yeah. Maybe that we can dive into the
Yeah,
categories
okay,
of
all
mods.
right.
You had a thought
check,
process.
check. I did all those.
It's bingo. It's bingo.
Pretty much every bucket.
Yeah.
Right.
So wheels and tires, definitely a must in terms of the first. In
Yeah.
terms of order of priority, what would you start
Suspension.
with? Suspension first?
Suspension first, yeah.
Suspension first. I'd say exhaust second. Yeah. I would do exhaust before I did wheels and tires.
Doesn't it? I mean, it depends on the car. Your the 992 for your dad. It's a
So with
perfect.
So with the exception of some cars that have
Right.
a good OEM setup, like even if it's OEM, there's always room for improvement. But I would probably do exhaust before I did wheels and tires.
I think the top row is the formula. Like
Yeah.
I think if you're doing something, that's where you get the most bang for the buck.
Yes.
Whether it's sound, certainly look, aesthetic.
Yeah.
I think if we all have limited funds, that's where I would start for
And
sure.
I'd say wheels and tires, I'd say that's the last one, only because new cars now come with such nice OEM design wheels.
Yeah, it's true.
That the only thing holding you back is their weak offsets.
then
Yeah.
you have to do spacers.
But then you can do
add-
spacers, right?
Right.
Like you don't. I think wheels and tires are the last on the list because a lot of cars have nice OEM wheels. That
No. Last on the list of the top row.
Yes,
That's what you mean.
That's right. Yeah, on top row
Of the three, like
of the three.
So suspension, exhaust,
Yeah.
wheels and tires, but spacers.
Yeah, and then after
in the meantime.
I'd probably do brakes because if you have a good performing car, before you do any ECU work, you want good brakes.
I
So
agree.
I do brakes before I did ECU.
like you've seen a lot of people do the opposite, right?
It was
full on
always
to-
since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
People would add more horsepower. They'd be running 800 horsepower Mustangs on factory brakes.
Yeah.
and suspension that can handle
Right.
a
Yeah.
lot of that squat.
Right.
Yeah, and one of the biggest, I think, I've come to realize this myself on one of my project cars, but I was never sold on expensive tires. I'm like, I can get like a cheaper set of Falcons or something or Hancocks, and they're just tires, right? They fit. The car's rolling on the wheels I want, and I bought a set of Hankook V12s for my Z4M, and I had a stop tech kit put on at the same time, so everything was set up. I'm driving home and I just, I guess there was a bedding procedure for the brakes. So I just wanted to try them a little bit, see how strong they are, if the bite is good. And every time I started braking harder, the car started shaking, like the wheels started shaking back and forth. So I said, did I bend a wheel or something? Or are the rotors warped or something, right? I couldn't figure it out. And then I started doing some research and people are saying it's probably the tires. They probably have a soft sidewall and they're just collapsing under the weight of the braking. And you're
It's
not
outdoing the grip.
It's outdoing the grip or the performance of the tire, right? So I took them off. I bought Michelin's. At the time they were super sports, and I put them on, completely gone.
Wow. Hey, Michelin plug.
Shout out to this week's sponsor. But I agree with you because I a younger version of myself used to just shop tires in dimension. That's what I cared about. Was it a 35 profile and
Best bang for buck, right?
Right. No, it's good.
I mean, I agree with the same point as well. When I jumped into wheels modding, I didn't even look at suspension. I was so cost conscious, and I think partially because I was always at the limit of what I can afford and spend. I wanted to do it, but I wanted to do it on the cheap so I can get it all done.
Yeah.
So I get the potential cheapest wheels, the cheapest tires, just to fit into that category, but then realize safety concerns are being taken out of the equation. These tires are not. I mean, I don't know what brand you just mentioned there.
For
tires.
Hankook?
Hancocks before.
They're not bad tires.
They're not bad because I had them on my wife's. My wife had a Lexus IS, and I bought a set of Hancocks for that car for daily use, and I quite liked them, to be honest. But that car was not a high performance car. It was a nimble sports sedan, but it didn't experience the same sort of performance that the Z4M did.
Yeah.
And that's where I saw them fail. So I think they're okay in certain applications because they're not a bad tire. They have good tread wear.
Yeah.
They have decent grip for normal, all season or summer use, but they're just not a tire you choose for high performance cars when you're tuning ECUs and adding aggressive.
You want a tire that can keep up with the brakes.
With the car, even with the power.
Yeah. And the weight of the car and all that. Yeah. And
The one if I don't want to cut off the tire if you're still going on tires.
I think we can wrap up that.
The one thing you've called it aerodynamics. I would challenge that in that
body
the way
cladding.
that we drive. Yeah, it's for aesthetic. It's a cosmetic thing. I know we're calling it aerodynamics, but really
it depends. It depends on the car.
Yeah, some do benefit from it, but a lot of the parts that are you put on like lips or side, they're just half of them are two-way taped on.
Exactly.
I agree.
And there's no wind tunnel testing going on.
Well, some say they do. Some say they do.
But how
wind tunnel testing.
if you're putting on Lucas's car or my
you can't.
I'm lowered.
No.
So any work that they've done on their car,
if you buy the full aerodynamic kit from a brand, maybe they've done some simulation to test the aerodynamics piece of it.
I think majority of them do not.
Oh yeah.
I think it's a look.
I think if you're buying there was kits for the M4 splitter kits that bolted to the frame, and they were meant to be functional and remember there's a lot of downforce on these parts.
Yeah.
And if you put in 4 drywall screws into your bumper with a lip, doesn't take much to tear it off.
So things like M Performance parts, things that are I guess, certified by the manufacturer themselves. They've gone through some rigorous aerodynamic testing in the wind tunnel to say that these parts actually attribute to better downforce. Like a GT3, for example, Mante Racing, the kind of kit that you get from them as an aftermarket piece for the winglets on the wing.
Okay.
Yeah, they're definitely.
I'll buy that, and
Yeah.
I believe that could be true in some cases. But I think the application of how they're used for 99.9% of the people, it's for aesthetic.
Oh yeah,
Right?
100%.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You're not getting the benefit. You're doing it for the look. And so I don't challenge that I'm just challenging, we're calling aerodynamics, but truthfully it's
Aero
more-
looks.
It's,
Aero
Well,
looks.
yeah.
There are extreme cases, right,
Right.
where people are just sticking on pieces
Yeah.
just for the aesthetics.
Right.
Yeah.
And there are functional aerodynamic
Yeah,
pieces
for
that
sure.
people gotta put on as
Yeah,
well,
that's
right?
true.
But in either case, largely there for looks.
Yeah.
The intention is behind
Yeah.
a look.
And we can take a look at some examples of really
Yes.
tastefully done.
Where they got it wrong. Yeah.
And actually, before we go to intake and other categories, suspension is actually one I wanted to kind of talk about because I just installed a set of springs on the Carrera, and it rides really great. Eric, we went for a drive and it drove nice, but there's nothing like a full coilover system. It's just you see what you're missing when you experience both, right? Because that's also a shortcut, and I've done it before. I bought a car, and the first thing you want to do is like get rid of the wheel gap.
Yeah.
You go, you put springs on, and then either the ride is not maybe very compliant, or there's still
It's too harsh.
or there's an uneven gap still between the front and the rear fenders, and you're kind of like trying to make it look better, but you're not never satisfied. And I've done this on 2 prior builds where I went from springs to coilovers.
Yeah.
And before, back 15 years ago, maybe the coilovers weren't known as like an OEM replacement in terms like they weren't, the quality wasn't there. They used to leak and stuff. Right now, there's reputable companies, Olin's, KW, Bills. They all make really quality
Well, and a
setups.
lot of OEMs take them.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Like they
Yeah.
use Bilsteins and
Like
Porsche
Porsche is
911s,
KW.
right?
You know,
The GT3s are
KW.
Bilsteins, no?
I think
no,
they're-
not GT3. Yeah, KW.
Okay.
Obviously, they make it for them, but it's but a lot of coilovers now are like high quality pieces and stuff. So, and my M3, for example, is sitting.
And so I know your guidance on this would be, if you can swing it, always get a coilover versus
Yes.
a spring.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I would pass on the intake. I'd pass on the lighting. I'd even pass on the aero looks and put money into the suspension before I did other stuff.
I'm with you. I'm in that same
Yeah.
boat right now with the M2 coming along, and I'm trying to decide, what do I want to put in here? Do I want to put springs or do I want to put coilovers? Every time, like I put springs on my RS5, I'm not really a fan of how it drives. It's very harsh. It's not very compliant.
And you have no adjustability,
Well,
right?
it's a Haas kit, so
Yeah.
I can lower it and raise it.
Oh, can you?
Yeah.
Well, the Haas kits are like people there's a Haas kit is springs. It's a spring with
with
a
adjustable
collar
collar.
that you can
Yeah.
twist, but you're going to get the exact same ride out of a spring than you are out of a Haas kit. There's no difference because the dampener is still there. So if you want to change the ride quality, you have to go to
With the shocks, with adjustability,
with a
2
full
or 3-way.
coilover, yeah. Because really, like you can buy springs for $300 or a Haas kit for $1,200, but it's not doing anything other than changing or fine tuning the height of that spring. And if you choose a good spring, most of the time they sit pretty good. Like you don't really adjust these things.
Yeah.
So like I'm a fan of coilovers. The price of coilovers has skyrocketed. Like they've more than doubled in price in the past couple of years. So before you can get a good setup for $2,500, $3,000, now they're like 6 to 8.
Wow.
For just even a 2-way.
Like KW Club Sports, like something I have on my car is $6,700 US.
That's nuts, eh?
It's nuts. It's expensive.
My H&R kit, I think it was $2,500 for the
Impossible.
911.
What, the springs?
No, the
full
coilover
coilovers.
kit. Full
you did
coilovers
coilovers on yours.
on 911, yeah.
So that's what I remember paying. I did coilovers for my Z4 when I had it.
And your 911.
No, not. Oh yeah.
Yeah, you did Bilsteins.
911. The
Okay,
Bilsteins were not the right.
So I think the problem with your 911, we didn't discuss this in detail, but the Bilsteins weren't bad. I think the problem was they have adjustable collars for the what's that term again?
The springs, the helper springs.
No, but it's
Rebound?
not rebound. It's when you have preload.
Yeah, preload.
So
yeah.
that setup needs to be preloaded like 10 millimeters. If if you mess with the preload, your ride is destroyed.
I had no
and BC
preload.
Racing is the same way. You have adjustable shock bodies. You're not supposed to touch the preload on the spring. You're supposed to adjust the shock body.
Yeah.
And yours are not meant to go as low as I think you wanted them
They
to
had
go.
limited range, right?
Yeah.
So to get it lower, they might have messed with the spring preload, and that's what destroyed the ride.
I think your range on the Bilstein was like 1.6, 1.7 inches.
So it was pretty much the same as factory, whatever sport suspension you can get with it, right? So the coilovers I put on was essentially the same as what I had prior to.
Just different dampeners.
Maybe like a
Really?
fraction of a
Lower.
ride quality lower. And it's after we really slammed it, now we didn't have preload on those helper springs anymore.
It ruined
and,
the ride.
And it killed the ride
Right.
Yeah.
in order to achieve that lower setting. And what you have is the extra low version.
It was 2.25, I think was
Yeah.
your maximum
I was 1.7
range.
or something.
Yeah, you're 1.6, 1.7.
But Eric's car is like super low in the front, and it doesn't ride. Like if you were to
Yeah.
put a car on springs that low, it would ride like garbage.
Yeah.
Right?
So this is where I'm kind of working with right now. I think I want to do coilovers for the M2 for any future mods that I do.
Yeah.
And I'm not super happy with the Hasket and how it rides on my RS5. It's super
Yeah.
harsh
Right.
for what it is.
Yeah. Like I would
Time to sell it.
If it's time to like budget the thing for the M2, I would quicker get spacers on the OEM wheels and coilovers than I would springs and wheels.
Yeah.
If those are the two options.
Yeah, they're nice. They're nice factory
If-
wheels on the M2, right?
Yeah. And I have spacers. Sean has spacers. We can all
Yeah.
throw in 5 mils each,
Frankenstein it.
Frankenstein it up, and then you have 20 mils. There you go.
So I've submitted my list of mods for Sean to get from M Performance.
Yeah.
So he's going to submit it and see if he can get them approved.
Yeah.
And then I'll decide which ones I'll keep.
Okay.
And the H&R Hasket was on the list, but I
Yeah.
think I might look at some coilovers.
It depends. Remember, pricing is important, but I would, again, it's not a bad. It won't be bad. It'll be good. It's OEM approved, so I'm sure it'll ride decent. You get to control. All these cars have electronic dampening, so you get to control your dampening in the car with these Haskets, but it's not a coilover system.
Yeah.
It's just that's the
All right,
only thing I have to say.
So we'll put a pin in this. So suspension coilover is the gold standard.
Yeah.
Then Hosket, then spring.
Springs. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the rest is-
and then if you really are tight, I just would go to Canadian Tire and get those spring clamps, and you just pull it together.
Why don't you just like cut it down if you want
You can cut it to spring too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Just compress it and then just put tie straps.
Yeah. Yeah. Those
Seen
zip
those
ties are
videos?
super strong.
seen those videos of
And-
guys going in there and cutting out the springs
Yeah.
and
Jesus
exploding
Christ.
in their
Dumb
faces.
ways to die.
Like-
yeah.
Dumb ways to die.
Hey, that's going to be our intro. Yes. That's going to be the intro.
Okay, perfect. Let's do it.
All right. Maybe we should move on. We're
Yes.
about
Anything like
Interior.
30 minutes.
Interior. So
Interior.
you're gonna say seats.
I
suppose?
love interior now because once you covered all the bases, you forget about the interior, and then when it comes down to it, you sit in this car. You're
Yeah.
driving in it. You don't see the outside of your car. You don't experience what people experience. You experience the car from the inside,
Yeah.
and people neglect that part of the car. But
Are you making the case that it should be higher up? If
it should
if
be
the top
it
row-
should be higher up. I think it's.
Would you do the interior before you touch any of the other things?
No, I would do interior after the first row.
Yeah.
I would.
but before brakes.
I would do it. Well, brakes kind of fits in with the
I
top
guess
row a
it
little
depends
bit.
on the car. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
You don't need to do brakes on your
Yeah,
M3
some cars
when it
don't
comes
maybe
to-
need it. You can just upgrade
Right.
pads or lines, but I would put interior on the second row, like before even ECU and intake.
Well, if you haven't touched ECU and intake, you're not messing with the power.
Yeah,
Your brakes can wait. So you could do wheels, tires, suspension, exhaust, interior, and then come back to...
If I thought about my progression in my car, that's what I would like. Seats would be the next thing if
Yeah.
I had money to burn, kind of thing.
can we get Eric to pull the trigger on seats this summer? You think? Because like there's a lot of talk
gonna
on
go
this.
fund me. It's gonna go fund me.
It's only April.
yeah,
we have
got
time.
lots of time.
We covered this in an episode, though. You remember the carbon
seats.
buckets conversation?
But if I were to source you, if I were to find the carbon buckets, like give me a budget,
Okay.
like what you're willing to spend on these seats, and I'll find you seats.
This is on record.
And they have to be foldable. So the back
Foldable. I'll
seats-
find you the OEM
Euro-
seats,
Euro
Euro
style.
seats.
Okay.
I'll find them. Just give me a realistic
Okay, let's
number.
go- let's go
don't
low.
say $1,200 because
$5,000.
$5,000.
$5,000.
Okay, challenge accepted.
Done.
Okay.
Yeah,
So set of Euro style seats,
Oh,
foldable
man.
seats for Eric's 911 GTS.
And
for
an
$5,000.
unrelated topic, I will be launching a GoFundMe so she can all contribute. No, that's great. Yeah, I would feel good about that.
Okay.
So interior, anyways, super important. I've been tinkering with mine for a while because I've done everything there is to do on the outside that makes it like OEM plus. So
that can go beyond and crazy as well in the
it
interior.
can, depending on what state your car is.
What is our view on a gold Kleenex box in the rear windshield? Are we for that or against that?
Hey,
if it matches your CCBs,
Okay.
go for it.
it depends on what region you live in.
Okay. All right.
What does that mean?
So, I mean, I remember growing up in Dubai, like I mean, it's part of a...
It was a thing. I don't know why.
aesthetics where we had Kleenex boxes in the back.
Back of the car.
You
And
know
in the
what?
front.
You know what's funny? You bring that up. We had friends, my parents' family friends. He actually came up with an invention they used to like put on. What's that U.S. channel where you had like the shopping channel? I guess, right?
Oh, okay.
Anyways, he was on that, and it was a Kleenex box, like strap where it had two little pins, and you strap it to your headliner.
Yeah.
Well, that's much
So they're
safer.
never flying around. They're
Yeah.
always in the middle of the car.
Yeah.
Right.
And
That's
it was
good.
genius.
'Cause
It
that-
destroyed your headliner.
So taxi drivers in
Imagine the
Dubai had that.
projectile that would be in an accident. That gold Kleenex box would crank your head off.
Well, you're talking about like a full
Well, let's
hard
see.
gold cup.
Yeah,
gold-plated.
I've seen those. Yeah.
Yeah,
Growing
you've
up.
seen-
Yeah.
yeah. So
Imagine-
taxi drivers,
Yeah.
and when we were growing up, that's what they did as well. They had like Kleenex boxes mounted
To the headliner.
to the headliner.
Yeah.
And you just go.
All right.
So that'd be under interior, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not doing Kleenex boxes
Yeah.
anytime soon, but hey, if you guys are.
Yeah.
And they say lighting. Is that like exterior lighting
Exterior.
or like LED?
I think most cars are coming with interior LED lighting, like a warm white, which is I think normal for interior, which is acceptable. A lot of like lighting in my case, if you want to update your car, let's say you have a dot one or a pre LCI car, and you want to update the look of it. Like
Yeah.
I updated my headlights. It was a big job. You had to route some wiring harnesses and figure out how everything works, code them. But I upgraded my OEM lighting to OEM lighting.
Yeah.
So it's still kind of, I guess, a
For
mod
modern.
for
take on
modern,
that.
yeah. But it gets very expensive. That's probably the most expensive one on the list.
Especially when you start lighting other parts of the undercarriage and all that too.
Well, when you're putting like glow sticks in your like frame,
We'll
Terry.
get there. Ground glow.
What did I have down below? Okay, so we had some examples of OEM Plus that we can go before we dive into
The worst mods.
the
Yeah.
worst mods quickly because we're 35 minutes in.
Oh my
All right,
gosh.
all right.
So to summarize in terms of categories and the sequence in which we prioritize these mods, suspensions, you even did exhaust first before you do wheels and tires. Get the
Brakes.
wheels and tires, brakes, interior,
Aero,
and then aero.
and then the following, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Intake and ECU, I know there's a lot, like you've gone kind of bonkers on the engine bay as well with all the nuts and bolts and
Yeah,
replacing all that.
But that's kind of that's ECU is I guess part. We didn't really list motor there or things like that. I guess that goes into because like I have a lot of cooling in my car, like the radiator, the charge cooler, the thermos, like, all that's changed. So the car runs significantly lower temperatures. But ECU, I changed the tuning in my car not really to have more power. I wanted a better delivery, better feel,
Throttle response.
better progressive response. That's why I did it, and it changed the car. But
Yeah.
most cars, like if you asked Tarsi if he would tune his RS6, he'd say he doesn't need to. If you ask me if you should tune the modern day turbo Carreras, no, like
So
they don't need it.
if you and Sean was saying this too as well, if you start modding these modern cars now, it's auto flagged to the manufacturer and defaults the warranty right away.
Yeah.
So even if you touch the
The
ECU,
one thing I noticed is missing on here is like power adders, like turbocharged, superchargers, and maybe it's more because that's not a common thing as much as like in the American
Yeah,
car
I think
scene.
ECU should be like motor, something like it's
Yeah,
not just
okay, maybe,
ECU.
yeah.
There's a lot of stuff there,
yeah,
right?
yeah, maybe just not ECU but motor.
All right. Well, let's move on.
Yeah, so that sounds good. So with that, maybe let's talk about some of the really good OEM Plus.
Had to be
Cars.
Porsche pictures, eh, Pebble?
I couldn't do an
No other manufacturers that OEM plus.
Hey, I have other examples. Don't worry.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. Oh.
All right.
I was trying to find pictures.
Well, 1 and 2 and 4 more Porsches.
I had 1 hour to put this together. We'll put some pictures of your car and your car. Wait, that's a 911 too.
Yeah, that's what happened. All right. Yeah. So the great examples.
But these are examples of, these are not, this is a resto mod. So that's like a
roof,
restoration.
right?
That's roof.
Yeah.
And this is like OEM plus, taking your regular 911 and just putting wheels, suspension, very tastefully
Is he
modded.
from Toronto?
I'm not sure.
It's got Ontario plates.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like is it Jacob? I can't remember if that's.
Let's show his
993.
plate to all of YouTube.
Hey, he's posted a picture.
It's
so-
true.
Yeah.
I agree. I have nothing
on the
against that, to be
Fair
honest.
use.
Yeah.
Fair use.
I always, people always blur out the license plate in like pictures or videos, but then you go drive on the street.
Yeah,
where
people
everyone's,
in a parking
I don't
lot.
understand the
Yeah.
whole blocking the license plate thing. Can someone please comment below and
Yeah,
tell me
why-
what I'm
why-
missing?
Why
'Cause
do you blur it out?
Yeah,
You're
I
don't
driving.
know.
It's a public thing.
I don't know.
Unless you're driving without plates, then
Unless you do illegal things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So the defining characteristics of these being OEM plus are, what would you say?
Well,
Is
they
it-
took an OEM car.
Yep.
Without changing the car drastically, they put suspension, better suspension than what OEM was, better wheels than what OEM was, better fitment,
right.
and maybe what else is.
I think
whatever else
it's
is
subtlety is probably what
Yeah.
you'd say.
That looks like a suspension and wheels combo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Next.
And the same thing with the
Yeah.
M2.
That
That's
one's-
just tastefully done.
That one's a little more excessive because it's got a full carbon roof swap.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, that's a big job.
And that splitter's super aggressive too.
Yeah, but the roof, like removing headliner, cutting the steel out, removing the sunroof if there is one.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a big job.
I didn't even think of it. Okay.
That's OEM plus.
Yeah, there's-
OEM plus are mods like you see the car and it looks great.
Yeah.
And you say, oh, that has like wheels and some lowering, but it's got like 20 times more things that you don't.
Wouldn't you even say it, like even the style of wheel? It's something like, hey, is that a factory wheel? I'm
Yeah.
not exactly sure.
Yeah.
It's a car that you modded that you think when you look at it, when someone that hasn't done it
Mm-hmm.
looks at it, would be like it came out of a factory.
That's pretty
Right.
much it.
Yeah.
It just looks better in every aspect.
Subtle details.
And the reason why manufacturers don't do this out of the box is because there's regulations that prevent them from having certain ride height,
Yeah.
requirements for spacing of these wheels
Yeah.
and things like that, right? So
Yeah.
they're limited, but they leave enough room for enthusiasts like us to
A
kind
little wiggle room.
Yeah, come and perfect the car.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's why I think people hate the M2 right now, but I think designers put that in with the intention or with the knowing that
Yeah.
it's going to get modded, it's going to get better with all the parts added onto
I
it.
saw a photo, like a proportional photo of that car next to the new M2, and that car was already pretty wide. It had a nice like stance. The new one is like it's so much wider. It's I'm not sure if it's just the design of the language in the front is very like horizontal. So it looks. I think the grills, everything looks wider. I think it also makes it look wider. But the fenders on the new one are
Bonkers.
bonkers. It's very, very aggressive.
It's also, I think, 500 pounds heavier than the previous
It
one.
is.
Yeah, we said.
Yeah.
I think 700, wasn't it?
Was it?
I thought it was a big car.
It's quite a bit more.
Anyways.
But you know what's funny? That same discussion arose with the G80, and every person who drove it says you don't feel
You
this.
don't feel it.
Whatever they did with the car, maybe it's assisted, maybe they just don't feel it, right?
Yeah.
I think it's the same with the Macan and the Cayenne GTS. Like there's modern SUVs now.
Heavier.
They're heavier.
Yeah.
But they don't drive like SUVs
No,
anymore.
no,
They
no.
drive like normal
But
cars.
they drive. If you compare a new Cayenne versus the one from 2008 that weighs much less, what drives better? The new one.
Of course.
You know, so
Like Turbo GT, for example, it's like smashing the Nürburgring lap times.
it's like 7,000 pounds.
But is that true? Are the new ones like is a new Cayenne heavier than the
Yes.
older? I just would have thought innovation, use of materials, they would have been able to
They go
find
lighter,
weight.
but then they add more tech.
Right.
Yeah.
And it adds more weight.
Yeah, I didn't
There's
think
more
microchips
luxury.
were
Like the
that heavy.
interiors, especially. Look at the basic interior of a Cayenne, plastic dashes and doors compared to what we have now. The finishes, the trims, all the bezels. Like there's so much stuff there, right?
Yeah.
And everything requires clips or,
And it's part of the luxury aspect of it, right? If you
Yeah.
want a car that feels good, it feels like a place you can live in or
Yeah.
be in for a very long time, it's the price you pay.
yeah.
All right, what's the next category? There's got beautiful 911 there for Peter.
Yeah, another example of a perfectly
Yeah.
OEM plus modded 911 or car in general.
Yeah, nice photo.
This I just threw it up there because if we came to a topic about off-roading, there are OEM plus off-roaders as well, like in the world of tuning.
Is that OEM plus?
That's not OEM plus. I wouldn't consider that OEM plus.
That's the opposite of OEM
That
plus.
is like a full-on off-road build.
That's a Dakar Subaru.
So if Range Rover or Land Rover came up with their Discovery,
Yeah.
you could get all of these as options. On
So
their
I
car.
think that look is more fitting on a Discovery than it is on a Subaru Forester.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Let's move on.
Okay.
Okay.
Female gym teachers unite on this. Revolt. It's awful.
Female gym teachers.
I don't know. It seems like the demo, right? Because it's a very female car.
No, a Forester?
The Subaru is a very female car.
No.
Yes.
I
Wait, hold on.
disagree with that.
Which Subaru though? Are you?
I think the brand.
No.
If you looked at
no.
their,
I disagree.
No, it's not a female-centric brand, Subaru.
I thought Subaru
Yeah.
was.
WRX.
No, that's Range Rover.
No,
or
no.
the Velar.
That's
or-
Mercedes G-Wagon.
Yeah. Yeah, the G-Wagon, I agree.
Maybe, but I thought Subaru's
Comments are
main
going to be
customer-
like...
Well, it's not controversial to say that
All the
it's-
STI owners. Eric, what are you talking about?
Listen. I think the sales data would confirm, but we'll take that
Let's-
offline. I'd like.
Can you
to,
put
I'll
us
look
some
it
bar
up.
charts of sales and
Yeah.
demographic?
I have to crunch some of that. I'll send that over after.
Wow. A lot of talk about around this Subaru.
All right.
Interesting. Now, okay, so we talked about what... This is not a taste OEM plus.
Yeah.
But we talked about what OEM plus cars are. Now, what happens when you take it a little too far?
Okay.
So I tried to go over the internet to find some.
Yeah.
So here's a couple of
Oh,
examples of
good.
what is too much.
Yeah.
I think this looks good,
Yep.
but I question the functionality of all of it.
I think it's close. Like
That's
that's
the thing.
less offensive to my sensibilities than some of the other examples.
Yeah.
You know what I'm not a fan of? I'm not a fan of go down one. Like
I've never understood that.
like
I didn't understand
the
this.
the excessive camber.
What is that called? What is that like? That genre called?
that's called getting your car towed when you hit like.
But there's people that go out there saying, I want it to look like that.
You-
And they ride like
I
that.
just don't.
And it's not
I don't
just air
understand
suspension.
because even like physically, that wheel is touching the road, but that with that angle, like your inner barrel is touching the asphalt. I just don't see the
Yeah. There's no driving enjoyment.
You can't drive that car.
That to me is nothing but anxiety. You're driving. Oh my gosh, like more so. We live the low life to an
So
extent.
maybe, I don't know how far people drive those cars.
But they when they go to parking lots, they have to carry 2x4s and like that. That's not enjoyment.
There's a support vehicle for your car. So they'll come out with planks to put on
Right.
so you can go over ramps.
I'm sure tire wear is awful. Like you probably
No,
get to-
I think we're into like rim wear at
Yeah.
that point.
just scraping off like
Just like-
flakes.
you need new wheels every 5,000
And not only that, but the stress it puts on the suspension, the hubs, everything. Like
Yeah.
that's
Someone
insane.
explain it to me because I don't get the appeal.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the boombox
Ali G.
culture.
Ali G is in the house.
So this is very popular.
Is it still popular?
No, I don't know if it is, but in
It
Europe,
used
I
to
think.
be.
Yeah, it used to be big. Eh?
I was into that.
Oh,
I admit,
Not
yeah.
that, but I had a subwoofer
well,
with
that's
amps and
different than that. Like that.
mine
you're-
wasn't as pretty as that,
Yeah.
but I mean, like I had
a
I had
box with two 12-inch
Yeah.
JL.
I think
sub- or
everybody-
JBL, whatever. they are.
everybody our age had that.
I mean, to each their own. I think everyone has a taste of what it looks like for what modding is. That's not my cup of tea. I would never go spend my money to do something.
Did you ever have a sub or amp in any of your cars?
Yeah.
You did?
Like tiny stock ones.
No, like
no,
a
but
box
actual,
in the
like
trunk.
you go
No.
have
I
a
never-
custom built plexiglass so you can
No?
see.
Did you have one?
Yes, I
Yes.
had multiple.
Oh, I offended.
I had like
no,
I had like 4 setups.
I deserve the criticism. You know, it's one of those times like it was the '90s,
Yeah.
wild and crazy
Mm-hmm.
times. You know, and
Wait, Eric,
but-
wild
but
and crazy.
You'd be
Is
in
that
your
possible?
car. My friend told this story at my wedding. Actually, he said, you know what, you would hear me coming from 3 blocks away, and he knew it was time to get ready. And it was all you in the car. It's not like the sound quality.
So
it's
wait,
not great.
You're just blasting the music.
It's just the sound
It's
waves
the,
traveling.
Hey everyone, look at me. I'm playing Run DMC at level 100 decibels.
So the trend these days is to have an exhaust that makes those sounds so you can hear people
With the
blocks
burble.
away.
Do we have burble tunes? I think that.
burble
Yeah,
tunes,
it was
yeah.
mentioned up earlier.
Yeah.
Right.
Maybe but you can talk about it. I mean, that's
Oh, I can't wait to talk about
another-
verbal tunes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on. This is a thing. I mean, not on the specific car per se, but the
Is
exhaust.
that photoshopped? That can't be real.
No, there are cars that do that.
There are cars that in Japan. That's a huge thing
That's
in
a huge
Japan.
thing.
That's a huge thing.
Yeah.
Like
They do that with
where are the
Lamborghinis.
red flags? You know what I mean? Like when you
Oh,
when you
like,
carry
yeah,
when you
lumber.
carry cargo or lumber and
the
it sticks
market.
up past your car, it should have like a little red flag.
I don't get that.
Yeah.
Is it an art piece? Maybe it's an expression.
So it's a new thing that's happening out of Japan right now.
Yes.
Like-
Is it Bozozuka? There's a name for it. I think I'm not far.
I have a question for you.
What?
Let's say you're parking in a spot with that car sitting there, and a thunderstorm rolls by, and it. And where does the water go? Tell me, is there like do they
Have
cut
a drain.
Is there little drain holes in that
I don't
tube?
think so because I think it'll kind of mess with the audio.
Yeah. So like, does it just like sit there until you fire it up, and then it just kind of evaporates with like the heat of the like?
Maybe
You know,
vaporize it on.
because he seems like it seems like a daily driver. He's a Walmart. Maybe he's doing groceries. Like, you know,
He's just picking up some lumber to build a spoiler.
it seems like a daily driver to him. So
Anyways, I don't get that one.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the donk. That's what
that's
those
a
are called.
donk. Yeah,
What's this called?
donk.
Donk. I think that's what it's called.
Is that still a thing?
That's like a southern
In the southern U.S., I
yeah.
believe it's still a thing.
Oh, it's definitely a thing. They put these things on like
32-inch wheels.
Yeah, but they put them on like a 350Z. Like they'll put them on anything.
Yeah, I've
G
seen
wagons,
Mustangs.
I've seen G wagons
Anything.
like that.
Yeah.
I just
A 911. Have you seen a donk 911?
No. Does it exist?
We'll Google one. We'll search.
Yeah,
We'll
okay.
search for one just to make Prabhu happy.
Yeah, not. I mean, I think the things that we don't like about those is they're not functional.
Yeah.
Like you could get away from the comical, cartoonish look. They're just not functional.
yeah.
They don't. My driving enjoyment is it's actually detracting from my driving enjoyment.
Well, and then moving on to the other mod that I don't think I'd ever do, but it was very popularized by Fast and Furious.
Before that, it was popular.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
yeah.
was.
I always wanted this on my car. I had a Ford Escort GT. I had a couple of them, but it's so funny. I can look back now and see, maybe it's not awesome, but you would put these. I think they were tubes. They
Yeah.
might even be fluorescent. I don't know what lighting source it was. And you'd
It
have-
wasn't LED because they didn't
right.
have
LEDs
LED.
didn't exist in the 90s. And God, if you drove through a puddle, I think you're.
Imagine they're like fluorescent bulbs like from the garage.
Honestly, it's something like as crazy as that back in the neon or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Neon
I
gas.
got my tube lights. I'm going to bolt it onto my
Right.
car.
But
That's what it was. It was tube lights underneath your car.
Yeah, but
and
this-
you put them in strategic places, and people run it. I used to think it was the coolest thing.
Wow. Imagine all the flickering.
well, it depends depends who wires it, I guess,
Like
right?
you do videos and it'll just be like,
Oh yes, for the camera pickup.
Yeah.
It's
But
like
you know what?
rolling in a
Like I have to
green
say, like on a car of like let's say like that,
Yeah.
it doesn't look bad.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of fitting
Yeah.
on a build like that.
Yeah.
You have an expensive car with like expensive, like aero package or whatever the case may be, and it doesn't look that bad.
I
And
think you should try it. Atlantis Blue.
so I was
Brown
reached out
glow.
by someone saying, hey, you want to try our underglow lights?
was it Terry?
No, I don't know. Terry was
The
trying to
purple
rock it, too.
haze.
Yeah. I can see Terry pulling this off.
I can
could-
see
Terry
Terry
could pull it
totally
off,
would
yeah.
do this.
But Terry could probably do it and pull it off.
Yeah.
I can see this working for him. you
Hey,
know?
I think, hey, Terry, underglow for your build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exposed carbon, might as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Float on the purple cloud.
Yeah. I mean, this is a big trend out in Japan now. If you look at a lot of their cars, a lot of them are still underglow.
That's
They
a
have-
huge scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have like Murcielagos with these kits on
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a huge thing. And actually it's I think I watched a documentary on this whole lifestyle where they just want to like enjoy the car scene and like just
Super
be
flashy.
flashy.
Yeah.
And they're rolling like 50 Lamborghinis with like all these lights.
In the 90s, what I will say, it wasn't the Diablos that were. It was the CRXs
Yeah.
and the Civic.
Well, Need for Speed, or sorry, Fast and Furious was
Yeah,
Honda
yeah.
Civic.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is okay if done tastefully.
I think that's still acceptable to
Okay.
yeah, in some aspects, but I mean I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
My car's too low to reflect off the ground anyways.
Light.
Oh,
there's
it-
enough room for light.
There,
trust me.
you'll get some glow.
Okay. All right. Another challenge accepted, I suppose.
All right, let's see if we can get that going. I have some LEDs. You want some?
All right, let's go.
So the next mod that might be tacky are spinners. The center caps that sort of.
That's not tacky.
That's
That's a
not
Rolls
tacky.
Royce feature.
Oh yeah.
That's coming back.
I thought you're gonna show like brake caliper, but then that's an actual brake caliper. But spinners is fine.
BMW actually has an OEM spinning center cap.
It just looks odd to me somehow. I don't know.
It just always stays level.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
I don't mind that, to be honest. I mean, waste of money. Like I would never do it, but if it came with it, I think if the Rolls Royce makes sense because you're pulling up, and usually Rolls Royces have the full face wheels. There's very little spokes, just more like aluminum, and it looks cool when you're pulling up, and the center cap is floating, and the car's just kind of rolling in.
Yeah.
It's a luxury feature, I guess, but I don't mind that.
Okay. So we let this one pass as a
Yeah, that one's okay.
acceptable.
But when you say spinners, like I thought you meant like spinning, like when when the wheels don't move,
Oh, so would that be tacky?
that'd be tacky, yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah, I think so.
Like when you stop and the wheels keep moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I was trying to categorize that along with this as well.
All
but
right.
you're saying a center cap like this for the
A floating
wheel-
cap.
A floating cap is acceptable, but a spinner wheel is a little too tacky.
That's
But
tacky.
what you've got is it like Dayton's or something, that style?
No, not
wheel,
Dayton.
like-
It's like you have like basically it's a face of a wheel on like bearings.
Okay.
So when you haven't seen spinners on the Escalades?
I have. Okay, Escalades, yes.
Yeah, when they just like
no,
rolling in Atlanta, like Ludacris is pulling in to get his homies, and then like he stops the car and the wheels keep spinning.
Right.
Yeah.
And then one bearing's bad, so one spoke stops, but the other one's still spinning. Yeah.
And that's mostly going to happen because of dust and dirt and all that kind
Debris,
of stuff.
yeah.
All right, let's move on. So the next one,
Over excessive badging, yes.
fake badging.
Well, fake badging.
badging.
Okay.
Not only
That's
excessive.
that's the.
Well, that's a Targa, so why wouldn't it say Targa for us?
I know that's why this is special.
Yeah.
He took off Targa,
And
put
put
on
turbo.
Carrera 4S, and then added a turbo.
And it's not a turbo. Like it doesn't
And it's
have.
not even a turbo.
Like, it doesn't have turbos.
Well, I mean, I guess today's 911s are turbos.
Not that one.
But not that
Not
one.
that one.
That's a 991.1,
Yeah.
I think, isn't it? So that is
Aaron's
all-
just like spitting on facts.
No, but I think it's just a general theme of fake badging,
Yeah.
where people
Or
put
Yeah.
M badges
yeah,
on, or a 540,
Yeah.
and they put an M badge on it.
Yeah.
right.
I mean, manufacturers are kind of doing that now too.
As part as
putting
M
badge.
Sport
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
S Line,
they're putting M
which
on
is
everything.
fine, I suppose, if it's
Yeah.
got the appearance package. But yeah, you're the people that are trying to flex that they've got an M3, and that's really like a 3 Series.
But they'll put an M badge in front of it. I've seen a lot of X5s.
yeah,
A lot of X5s with
yeah.
an M badge next to the X5.
Where does it go? Like first
X5M.
No, but like the guys that fake it,
Yeah.
they put the M badge first and MX5.
Because it doesn't fit after the X5. The F5 is too close to the head to the tail light. So just rearrange it.
Anyways, that's the other piece.
Yeah, so that's a thumbs down.
Thumbs
nod.
down
Thumbs
for
down,
sure.
thumbs down.
Yeah, just own it. Own your own car.
Yeah.
Be proud.
And just save up to get the car you want.
Save that emblem money on something else.
And you get some.
This is where we talked about the aerodynamics piece, right? The
Okay.
next piece is the tacky stuck-on vents that are fake. So these are
Hard pass.
not my cup.
What do you
of
mean
tea.
that's fit? It's vented. If I look at the
No,
close-up.
but they're
But the
just
hood is
stuck
not
on.
vented.
The hood is not.
oh, okay, they're just.
It's
I see.
so basically you're trapping dirt inside the vents.
Right. Yes, agreed.
So there you on Amazon and Alibaba and all this, you can buy a lot of this fake vents
Yeah.
that you could just stick
If
on.
Well, like
yeah, if you're
Thursday.
gonna do that, get the sawzall out and commit.
Yeah.
Commit like Terry and the M2.
no, if you cut
vendors.
out and you buy this, it's not going to stick on anything.
Yeah. But like, see that one actually, the scoops offend me the least on that car. The rear window scoops are what trouble me.
Oh, but what? Depending on the Mustang,
That
the
goes
scoops are
nowhere.
functional, though.
Not on this Mustang.
not on this car. It isn't.
No.
not
That-
functional. Sorry,
the-
it's for cooling the rear passenger.
Yeah, sure.
That's what it is. Yeah.
The windows don't open, but they can't.
So remember
You
the
cut the
Shelby,
window out, Eric, and then you put the vent on.
Get your sawzall out on the glass.
but remember the Shelby cars, the Shelby Mustangs had
Yes.
those vented.
I know.
Yeah, that's a
true.
built car. I'm sure it's functional in a car like that,
But what was the function of that though?
maybe for the brakes,
But the vents were right there.
maybe aero, maybe it went
was,
through.
It was to cool the engines, rear engine.
Yeah.
Shelby.
I don't know.
It's a special edition.
But you're right. I remember seeing that on a Shelby.
Yeah.
Maybe it had some sort of aero. Maybe it went through the trunk down to the diffuser or something. I don't know.
I always thought it was rear passenger cooling.
Yeah. So I mean, I think we give it thumbs down,
Thumbs down.
in the aftermarket, but I think we also give it thumbs down when manufacturers do it too. When you look at the
Well,
car.
here's an example of manufacturers doing it. The new M2.
Yeah, it's filled with fake
Really?
stuff.
Cancel the order.
Yeah.
Cancel.
But why would you pay for this stuff?
I mean, the front, there's the front scoops that are functional.
You know, the ones that offend me the most on this is the one on the rear wheel.
I agree.
Like, what does that do? Like,
Yeah,
why doesn't even
there's
look
no-
good?
It cleans up the air as you're traveling.
They
Do you know?
say
Do you know
it has
how
no
hard
air
it is to
damage.
wash the car?
I don't.
I know.
Can you imagine drying everything around that and behind
The
it?
dust? You're gonna need like little blowers.
That's like, I don't understand. Like, who's in charge of this department? Like,
But that's an aftermarket, not an
it's a
M2.
M
no,
performance.
it's an
No
option.
way.
It's an option.
Whatever happened to your wind tunnel testing
So-
and
so-
performance parts?
So the wing up there is wind tunnel tested.
Yeah.
I don't have the actual M performance, all of it, but
Yeah.
the big pieces like the front
They
lip,
are tested for
they
aero.
tested that, but they are basically
What
saying
are those called canards, right? Are they canards?
Not really. That's
On the front,
That's
it's
a-
canards. But,
what's it even called?
Pet Boys vinyl stick on.
okay.
It's so bad. It actually ruins the look of like it makes the car like almost old.
Oh, it's a winglet,
Winglet. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
but I mean
Hard
that's
pass.
not functional.
Hard pass.
Yeah, I get the wing. I won't get the inserts. I'll consider the front lip scoops.
Diffusers are cool. I like diffusers. Like if they have some shape or detail to them, like
Yeah.
I like that. But everything else, hard pass.
Anything that's like stuck on like that just for aesthetics.
Yeah.
wherever. It looks good in some ways, but I mean, it just
Not
wait.
that. Not those.
That's how much was it? That was like almost $2,000. Why would you spend that money?
Well, I mean, in terms of value, like the carbon is probably good quality.
Yeah.
So you're paying for the quality carbon. And just I'm not sure that the look is an improvement at all.
Yeah. Well, speaking of carbon, maybe we can talk about the next piece where people do a lot of exposed panels like this. The fenders, the hood. I don't know. Personally, for me, I think the car just looks unfinished.
No comment. No,
So I think there's a time and place for these items on a car. Like in this case, I'm not sure why the fender is carbon and the rest of the car is like it doesn't fit
Yeah.
in. The whole hood, sometimes the hood ties in with the roof. So if you have a carbon roof and it translates to like a carbon split, like a lip or something in the back or a wing, and then it goes towards the hood with some maybe half painted, half carbon to finish the look. I can let's go back to the Wyzak.
Yeah.
It's a great example of exposed carbon and paint. Like it's a mixture of both, but you have a carbon wing, you have a carbon roof,
Yeah.
you have a carbon hood that kind of is very fluid and round.
And the lines flow.
Lines flow around.
and it's on a purpose-built race car.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Well, mind you, that hood is carbon regardless. On a non-Wyzak or Wyzak, it's still carbon.
But I'm just saying,
So
it's a
it's-
race purpose vehicle.
Yeah, but it's the exposed look, right?
Yeah.
So it was popular. I mean, back in the day, every Prelude and Civic had exposed carbon. Like nobody had a painted hood.
Yeah.
Like nobody, that was the thing. Today, I think a combination of both is really like attractive, especially like if you buy a GTS hood on like the M2. By painting it, you actually make it look even better because it
Yeah.
reflects the shape better, right? So
Your hood on your M3 is carbon.
it's carbon, yeah.
Yeah.
It's OEM
painted.
carbon, but it's painted, yeah. Underside is it's raw carbon, like it's exposed 4K. But I painted the hood because it's again OEM plus. Like if you're modding beyond OEM plus, then that's the look you kind of go for. But then you lose the OEM plus look because there's no OEM cars that have carbon hoods, right? So
Yeah. Interesting. I mean, like when I see cars like this, I just think to myself, oh, it just came out of a body shop. Hey, when are you getting that painted?
Yeah.
There's some damage work, you're repairing it and whatnot. And then you have to really get close and say, oh, that's carbon fiber.
Yeah.
But what is it worth it just to have that carbon fiber look?
Yeah.
To give up the overall look of the car
Right.
Yeah.
and the aesthetics of the
It makes
car.
me think and it's of course the opposite of the case, but it makes you think you ran out of money on your build. And it's not the case because obviously it's much more expensive than.
That's true. It looks unfinished, like
Right.
we were saying before. Anyways, so those are some of the mods that we think are maybe not worth your money.
Burble Tune, we did do Burble
Oh yeah,
Tune.
sorry, Burble Tune.
Pass, hard pass.
Hard pass, hard pass. But you guys, a lot of the M owners had Burble Tunes on their
So,
cars, right?
You guys don't.
Oh,
Actually, mine didn't have burble tune. My stock M3 didn't have the first generation LCI didn't have burbles. They introduced that in the competition pack, and Porsche was actually known for that years prior in the Cayman GTS. That was huge for burbles, like the little backfire sounds. The new Carrera has burbles.
So yeah. So the RS5 has burbles.
Yeah.
So the burbles, tastefully done, are great. But the burble tune that goes beyond where that burble stays on for a minute long, that's just excessive.
Like, for example,
it sounds like machine gun fire.
Yeah.
Like, you know what's a good sounding burble? I always enjoyed the Huracan.
Yeah.
I think it's a very quick and snappy kind of like when you release the throttle, it has a bit of like, backfire burble effect there, but it's not excessive. Yeah. It's not too long. It's still kind of natural sounding a little bit, not so synthetic. But when you have, when you're cruising down, like a city street at 3,000 RPM and you're releasing the throttle every 5 seconds, and it's just AK-47 shooting up and down the street. Right. Like I can't see how you enjoy that, and I can't see how that's.
You got to be driving with earplugs.
I think an underlying theme of that, plus some of the other things, it's more of it's a look at me thing. That's what you're desperately seeking attention. So
the yesterday I was at Chloe's school picking her up. I hear this BMW come by, like 2-3 blocks away, and it's just like so loud, and you're in a crowded environment. Why?
You know what? I think partial the reason why people do it is because it's available.
Yeah.
I think like you're paying for a tune, and there's a setting of 10 on the burble,
and they go, I want
you say, I paid for a tune. I'm using all 10 levels of this tune.
It's like going to a buffet. I'm going to get my $20 worth. I'm going to eat every single thing.
That's exactly what it is.
Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
You paid for it. It's there. I'm putting it full.
Yeah.
People, and I've lived through, like, I've been giving this advice to everybody, but less is more a lot of the time. Just less. Do less, and you're going to have a nicer, classier, better build.
I agree. Yeah. And so burble tune is not a no. Manufacturers do burble tunes.
Yeah.
But the subtlety is what's important.
A lot of them cut back on it though. I think it was very strong 2017 to 2019, and now I see a lot of cars they've kind of pulled back. Yeah. They still have some exhaust backfire thing going on, but it's not like it was a few years ago.
One thing we didn't have up here, and it's a very common thing, either vinyl wrapping or stripes.
Huge. Yeah.
That's a huge mod. It's certainly an expensive outlay.
That's not a bad mod.
It's not a bad mod. I think vinyls came a long way.
Yeah.
The saying paint is dead is false in my opinion. Paint is still king. Like you'll never get the quality or look from a vinyl wrap that you do from paint.
But it's a cheap way to change the look of
your car. It's not cheap though.
It's not cheap.
Inexpensive, let's say.
It's like $6,000 to wrap a car properly. Painting. Paint is going to cost you, let's say, 10.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I also thought, like, what do we think of like liveries when people modify their car and might have a martini race livery on their
done? It's good
on their Porsche.
Like anything.
Yeah.
I would do it.
I was never a huge fan of livery. The only I think the car that if you buy a Viper, if you buy a GT3 RS. If you buy Ford GT, like all those cars are acceptable and like kind of fitting of vinyl
or
on
having
them, right?
race stripes.
Yeah, but like windshield banners, like hard pass. Like I don't,
That's a good kind of livery.
I prefer that's a 911R.
Yeah,
and I always kind of preferred that it didn't have that.
But that's the only way you know it's an R.
Yes.
Well,
like if you don't have that, you have $140,000 car.
Like
if you have it, your car's worth $1 million.
Window stickers.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
Like people will do window stickers.
Oh yeah, the window banner.
Yeah.
Hard pass.
Hard
pass.
What a sunny day though. You need that extra.
Listen, I quicker tint to the top portion of my windshield than put on a window banner.
So Terry loves the window banner.
No, he's changed. I convinced him to take it off, and he says he's never been more happy in his life.
You said convinced. I think shamed is the word.
No, I think he had them on the M2. His M2 was very kind of like racetrack or like modded. So it was fitting. It was fitting. I think if it said like the name of the track and a number, but it said like Empower, like. There's too many like the badging is kind of excessive, but I don't mind them on like a race car, like a race car look.
Yeah. But we're not we're talking street cars.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think I would give it a thumbs down.
I'm just
So,
and then listen, I'm guilty. I had a banner on one of my 90s.
No, what did you
cars.
have?
would you do?
I don't know. It's a Ford Escort, Ford Motorsports or something like that. I don't know. I also had dual exhaust on an Escort, so
Okay.
But
it
isn't
shows
that-
you my judgment in that time.
That's an inexpensive mod to do, test out, try out,
Yeah.
peel off if you don't like it.
Yeah.
You know
It's
what
not a big
the inexpensive mods are the ones you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's
There's
the
a
one-
reason why they don't.
There's a
cost
reason why
that
they're
money.
inexpensive.
okay. Maybe you can buy expensive vinyl.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to pay more for inexpensive mods, sure.
I mean, imagine my GT3 RS.
But this is livery. This
decal.
is not like this is a different kind of topic, right? Like livery is accepted on a race car. I like it.
Okay.
But like decals on street cars,
Well,
Yeah.
we see that a lot, though.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay, like tire stickers, no go on a
no go.
street car.
No go.
No go. Yeah.
No go. I don't think they're even functional on a race. Like what's the like?
Oh, just so you can see.
See what?
Well, it's a sponsor. Like if you're sponsored, your sponsor wants to see Michelin
Yeah.
or
When
if
you
you're on
park.
the track.
Yeah. Well, Michelin actually makes tires with
Stickers on.
no. They're not stickers. They're actually print on the tire.
It's painted, yeah.
Because nobody wants stickers flying off at 200 miles per hour.
Well, whatever. The point is to have the visual.
Yeah.
You can see when
There's-
there's cars in the pits or when it's in.
You know, it's funny actually. Somebody bought. There's a video of a Bugatti Chiron, and the concept had a blue vinyl stripe, like a blue strip on the sidewall. And somebody bought a Chiron, and they wanted that look. They took their car to a shop. The shop sanded down the sidewall and glued blue pinstriping
I did see
on the
that.
tire
Yeah.
on a Chiron.
Wow.
Like, would you ever sand the sidewall of your tire to glue a blue sticker on it?
Ever.
On a Chiron,
On a Chiron.
where tires are specifically made for that.
Like
car.
this is a specialty. Like the tires exclusive to this car.
I wonder how much it costs to do that. Probably $100,000.
To do the tires? Well, I do 50. Listen, any Chiron owners out there who want blue graphics, come to Dub House. I'll hook you up. Free
Even
ceramic coating.
$25,000. I'll give you a 50% discount on Dub House. That's funny.
Okay.
Let's maybe wrap up. Oh,
Yeah.
actually, before we wrap up, on the point of stickers, when you were recommending that I, with my GT3 RS, do kind of like a GT2 RS vinyl on the hood and the roof,
Yes.
is that an acceptable?
So I mentioned to Prabhu, on his car, it would look really cool if we did a multicolored hood. So like half carbon look and half painted. Very GT2 RS kind of look on a GT3 RS.
Okay.
Like, would that be frowned upon?
When you say half, what is the
So
dividing
can you
point?
pull up a GT2 RS? Because I always like this look. It was like the exposed carbon half painted kind of look. I was trying to get Terry to do this, but
Oh, on his hood, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought.
so
that was a good
the yellow
suggestion.
one, perfect
yellow
like
one.
example.
Leaving the
That.
Okay.
like you leave some exposed paint on the carbon.
And how would you achieve that? Do you have to remove the paint?
No, just to wrap it.
You do the opposite.
But it's a carbon. Sorry.
But they have carbon like have you seen Monica's McLaren with the carbon roof? No, you haven't seen it.
No. But is it a vinyl? Like
It's
you're
a
putting
vinyl.
Vinyl.
Oh, you're putting a carbon
Vinyl.
That seems weird to me. You're putting carbon vinyl on a carbon.
It seems weird if you think about it, but I mean it's vinyl.
Is there any way to remove the paint
No,
and
I
have a
wouldn't
prep
remove the
surface?
No, I wouldn't do that.
No,
No. This is strictly just kind of temporary
Aesthetics,
for
yeah.
aesthetics, but it doesn't add any significant weight to anything. And this carbon, like I know like this is going to sound kind of strange, but I like quality carbon weaves. And this carbon was laid on a roof on a McLaren next to an OEM carbon mirror, and I couldn't tell the two apart. That's how real this.
That's really
And
good.
did they ever make a lizard green GT2 RS?
So there are
PTS.
PTS colors, but if you look at the GT3 RS Wyzak,
Yeah,
it's
fully exposed.
it's fully exposed.
Yeah, like top left, sorry, red.
And probably your roof is carbon, full carbon.
Magnesium.
Magnesium.
Wyzak was
But
the
not.
only
It's
one.
not green.
It's
It is
green.
Oh, it is green. Okay.
Yeah, but I think it would look great like black carbon, like carbon.
Yeah, like wrapped it carbon.
Like just Google a GT3
You know,
RS.
I do
Wyzak.
think the 911's lines, I think, lend itself to having a full carbon
Roof, hood.
hood,
Yeah,
more so than some of the other examples we saw.
Yeah,
like the
here's
green one.
This guy here.
So see how the
Yeah.
roof translates to the hood, right?
Yep.
But I think the carbon roof looks good. I think just the mixture of carbon and green on the hood would look kind of cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it's kind of the best of both worlds.
Yeah.
Right?
And that's what's cool about this as well. If you go into the yellow, and to your point of how it just flows with the lines, right?
Yeah. Well, see, because the hood on the Porsche doesn't meet a specific fender line. It doesn't meet a headlight line. It doesn't meet a bumper line.
It's its own line.
It's its own line.
Right.
And it kind of like goes down and continues back up, right?
I agree. Yeah, I might do it.
All right.
Talk to someone about it.
Mm-hmm.
We are a bit over an hour and 12 minutes now, so maybe we should wrap up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So overall, in terms of best mods and worst mods, we've covered a lot of topics. Any final thoughts on this before we wrap?
Enjoy your car the way you like it.
No, I guess
But just listen to everything we say
Yeah.
on worst mods. Don't do
Yeah.
that
it's all
aside.
subjective.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course.
And
It's taste.
it depends what sort of modding you're into.
Yeah.
From a Euro performance tuning perspective, these were some of the things that we highlighted about what we find appealing.
Yeah.
And we agree on some of it and we don't agree on some of it. What about you? What do you think as well? Leave us some comments below. Tell us what you think are good and bad mods. And with that, we'll wrap up. Thank you all for watching. Thank you all for coming on a Saturday morning. Appreciate that very much. Like, subscribe, do all those things, and we'll see you in the next one.
Cheers.
Cheers.